And how about our Swedish guy, our legend?
Oh, so yeah, of course, was my wrong prediction.
Guten Abend von Leipzig and welcome to RBLE Global Tracks, which is Leipzig's very first RB Leipzig podcast in English. It's brought to you by Richard and Mario, and amongst us we are season ticket holders, passionate supporters, and not very neutral local pundits. And both of us have been following Leipzig football since our childhood days. So if you want to hear about RB Leipzig, capture the mood of the fans in the city, and if you want to go beyond numbers and statistics, you are in the right place. We're delighted to welcome you on board. And all we need to say now is, auf geht's Leipziger Jungs, Mensch, Richard. How are you tonight?
Hey Mario, thank you. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I enjoyed a wonderful Ferris wheel ride with you
No,
late afternoon.
I was
Uh,
sick. No.
yeah, and we had a really great view. I love this view. You can only get this once a year when a Christmas market is around our inner city, and this Ferris wheel spins on the far end. Yeah, from the inner city circle, and that was a real pleasure. I recommend it to everyone who wants to come to Leipzig, come to visit to Leipzig. Come when the Christmas market is on and enjoy a ride. So
Yes.
I'm
And
good.
the
Let's go.
the mulled wine is not bad either. But also, do you know, if you're at the top of the Ferris wheel, you can see far enough to actually see RB Leipzig's arena, our living room, as we like to say in German. No, it was really good. Kids enjoyed it as well. And the Christmas market is just very special. So today, I think we're just going to have a look at yesterday's match versus Young Boys Bern. There are a few club-related news that are floating around at the moment, and of course, it's on Saturday. We're going to have another top match again. It's also called El Plastico when we face TSG Hoffenheim. So we're going to have a look at that. But first, Richard, I remember in last episodes when we talked about this match versus Young Boys Bern, you actually said this team doesn't strike you as a team which is maybe good enough for the Bundesliga. So they might struggle to actually keep the or not be relegated if they were part of the first Bundesliga. And with that kind of attitude, I went to the stadium in order to watch that match. And I must say, it was. I think most of the people treated it as a bonus game because there was actually nothing to play for unless you wanted to go for 12 points and the 2.8 million euros for Leipzig club to get into their coffers. Coach Marc Rose actually took the advantage of changing 8 positions. I think he had eight new players on the pitch, but they're all very familiar to us, and especially Pete Gulaschi returned in goal. That was actually quite nice sight to see. Don't get me wrong, Yanis Blaswich is number one at the moment, but Pete has been part of RB Leipzig for such a long time, and him just returning back into goal made us quite emotional on our side a little bit. And all in all, I think his performance was solid. Only conceded one goal. It would have been nice if he had a clean sheet to be beat the ball again, but not quite. So during the match, with these 8 changes, it was really strange because in the beginning, it looked really solid for the first 5 minutes. It looked like this team was used to playing with one another, but that kind of fell apart in the first half. It was really disjointed. And if you look at the stats, the better stats or more ball position, more shots on goal was actually with Young Boys Bern. And it felt in the stadium felt as if Young Boys Bern are not going to score a lot of goals. And I'll tell you why. They did pass the ball quite nicely in midfield and up to Leipzig's box. So maybe got inside the box as well. But the way they were trying to take shots at our goal was really like scoring field goals in American football. So many times. I mean, there were people sitting higher than me in our block, and they actually caught the ball. That just tells you how much they missed. And that was kind of a shame because you can see that they can actually play football. also in a quite a nice way. But the way they tried to score goals was just not good enough. They were really harmless in that sense. However, the only goal they did score was done beautifully. I must say that. For Leipzig, it was a strange match. It was not. I thought it was still entertaining, and in the second half, the performance did improve. Hence the two goals they scored, plus Benjamin Šeško. He scored an offside and disallowed goal in the first half quite early, actually. And we thought, okay, here we go. That was within the 5 minutes when everything was still honky dory. But in the second half, they scored twice, but still didn't do too much to the overall performance. I think, considering the circumstances, it was a good performance. But my key takeaway from this is actually, well, if we compare ourselves with top level teams of the Bundesliga, like Bayern München, of course, and this year Bayer Leverkusen, the Werkself, I think with a similar squad, a similar lineup, they still would have beaten Young Boys Bern quite convincingly. And we're definitely not. Or I would be really concerned. In the last 16 of the Champions League, we're going to meet maybe a Spanish opponent or one English opponent, being Arsenal. I think you wouldn't really be able to be successful versus these teams with that kind of performance and this kind of team that we have there. You really need to go back to the best team that you have in order to be successful and to win those games. So we're not quite there yet, to be honest. We're good enough for the bottom of the league, but if there had been a Bundesliga team at mid-table, from mid-table yesterday, we could potentially have lost or at least drawn. And that was one takeaway. And something really interesting happened. Was it 17 minutes before the end of the game? Coach Rose had some substitutions, and Xavi came in. Goal Penda came in as well, and our favorite Timo Werner joined the crew as well. Now, Timo Werner being having missed the squad for quite a while now, and this is the first time he played again. I think he only had strength for 20 minutes. But there was a key takeaway in regards to Timo. It's going to be really hard for him to get back into the starting 11. There was one scene where he got a pass from one of the Leipzig players, I don't remember, and he was inside the opponent's box and he had a free shot, he had free range, and missed the goal completely. It was a field goal, basically. It went across the bar. He looked at the pitch as if there was something wrong with the grass. Might have been the case, but it was it's such a typical Timo Werner moment. He had a huge chance. He could have easily converted it, you think, but he didn't. And the mood of the fans and the crowd was not of impatience, but a little bit of, may I say this, pity, because we feel for him. I think we all feel for him. We wish him all the best, and we would love to see him score left, right, and center and join the team and make it to the Euros, but it looks very unlikely. So, going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. But at the end of the day, 3 points, 2.8 million into our coffers. We won the game. Timo didn't convince us. So these are two key takeaways that I saw yesterday, Richard.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. I got nothing really substantial to add here, but I recognized another a little fun fact. So what I would like to share with you and about our listeners, because Emil Forsberg scored in his very first UCL match back in 2017 against Monaco. And I've been there, and I remember when I was in the stands, and I thought, oh, okay, that's going to be a good chance. Okay, you have to pass the ball, pass the ball. No, he shoots, he scores, and
He didn't
and
listen to you. Are you
yeah,
telling me he did not listen to you?
it was basically the right decision at the end. But if you look at it back to this goal, it was nearly as improbable as his allegedly last UCL goal was yesterday. So the fun fact is here he scored in his first UCL match, and he scored in his allegedly last UCL match, and he scored a game winner too. And so yeah, it's a nice side note of that, and I feel really happy for him that he achieved that, that he came out on the pitch, that he was in the starting lineup, and he scored scored a sort of goal. That was cool.
But it's interesting you mentioned Forsberg because allegedly he's off to jetting off to the Big Apple in the winter, and it seems to be becoming more and more official. According to the German or Leipzig newspaper LVZ and the source Guido Chevron, it there seems to be an official announcement going to be coming out before the Hoffenheim match. However, it was really interesting how Coach Marco Rose reacted to this question during the press conference after the match. He referred to the whole thing, to the whole situation as es steht etwas im Raum, which you could translate into there is an elephant in the room. And he basically said, well, I'm going to leave that elephant in the room, not comment on it, which I thought was brilliant, the way he reacted. But in our hearts, we all know, with a heavy heart, we all know he's going to leave. It is really sad, but yes, only one verdict, one plea from our side. You got to be there in the stadium. If you're here in Leipzig, you got to join us in giving this legend of the club, maybe the most important legend, the biggest legend of our club so far, that positive and appreciative farewell that he actually deserves. So I'm going to say tusen tack, but I know your Swedish is much better, and we can talk properly again maybe in our next episode about Emil Forsberg, and maybe he scores. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. So okay, so much for this match yesterday. What else do we got today?
Well, we kind of talked about some club related news. So Forsberg being one of them. You might remember there was news as well that Halstenberg is getting his official send off before the match of Young Boys Bern, and it actually happened. He was there just before the whole thing and the kickoff started. He was interviewed. But one thing I caught was really interesting. He was asked, so given the fact that Leipzig has so many new players and lost a lot of key players, actually he's one of them. So I don't know if I can forgive him. How does he rate the current performance of RB Leipzig? And he actually said he's quite pleased that they are in the top four, seem to be strong. The team is growing together to be even stronger in the next year. So I thought that was really positive. The whole crowd, a lot of people were in the stadium already. They really applauded and cheered him on. So I think he got his recognition that he deserves, because he helped the club for a long time. And one thing I always remember is the first DFB Pokal that we won, and when he was sent off, because that turned the game. That turned the match into our favor because everybody was fighting for him, and he had a very solid performance in the following DFB Pokal final. Of was it this year? It was this year. Bloody hell! Thank you very much, Halste, and we wish you all the best.
Mm.
Maybe one more piece of news, which is quite encouraging. There is somebody who I haven't seen on the pitch yet. That is Chat Bichiabu. I'm not sure if I pronounce this correctly. Defender, very young talent. And he actually completed his first competitive match for RB Leipzig. Not the seniors, but in the youth league, when they played Young Boys Bern, which was in the annual draw. And they, of course, qualified for the playoffs as well. So I think that's a very encouraging sign that he's getting some practice. Not sure if that means that he returns or that he's going to be included into the squad. But Marco Rosa actually said, well, we bought him, we got him for the first team, for the A team. So eventually he definitely will be part of that. He's not going to be parked at the is it the under 19s then in that team. So we keep our fingers crossed. We need everybody, every man on board, on deck, with very challenging stuff to do, especially next year. Well, the last two games are going to be very challenging as well. So these are, from my point of view, these are the most important things to talk about this week in terms of news, Richard.
Yeah, nothing more to say here. The only thing maybe I met Masla Halstenberg once, so not really
No.
Yeah, no, we didn't
You
chat.
never told me about that.
A surprise! I want to surprise you a little bit.
Did you tell him to go to Hannover?
No,
I don't
no,
like you anymore.
it was years ago. I don't remember how long this was away, but it was the time when he was recovering from his torn ACL,
Okay.
and I met him at a gas station in the Marschnerstraße. So
I
I
know
was
where
there
it
with
is.
him. So I was there and had to refill the tank of my company car, and then he just was there with his walking boots or whatever he has to support it, so he wasn't quite able to walk on his own.
Mm.
And so I thought, oh yeah, this is Mars Halstenberg. Do you say something? And I said, nah, no, okay, no, he's no. I
You
think
freeze.
oh no, I always think that those people are happy when they're not when they're not chatted on permanently.
Exactly. I mean, now I have to tell you, I have to mention that story. My wife actually met Yusuf Paulsen in one of the toy stores in Leipzig, and he was there with his two young children. And she was surprised herself that she knew who he was. She in her head there was the name Yusuf Paulsen. And I asked her, so did you talk to him? And Sina, the neighbor, said, did you get the autograph? And she said, no, to be honest, I just smiled at him. He smiled back and everything. And she said something similar to, as you said, it might just be enough to give him a smile, but leave him alone. Because at the end of the day, yes, they're bloody rich and they can play football. Uh, but at the end of the day, they have a family life and they like some privacy as well. So they don't want to be pounced upon. So yeah, but I think it's a nice story. I like that. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Oh gosh, what kind of work? What kind of group are we here? But no, thanks. So, but there is another important game, isn't it? I mean, I keep repeating myself, but on Saturday, it's another top spiel, as we say, 6:30 in the evening, or like last week, 6:30 in the evening. A lot of people refer to this match versus TSG Hoffenheim as the El Plastico, meaning these are two artificial clubs. Now, TSG Hoffenheim are actually a club which has been existing for quite a while, longer than we have. However, they only reached a certain status and a certain fame because they had an investor who invested a lot of money into this club, and that's how they rose through the different tiers of the league as well. But it's been quite a long time ago. Because of that kind of structure and kind of money, for a lot of people, this club was always a club which was not really very nice because they bought their way into the league. However, RB Leipzig are perceived as a club who've done even the worst thing by really buying their way into the league because they bought the license of a club in the fifth tier and started from there. So when both of these clubs play, the traditional supporters are really not interested in that if two artificially successful clubs like that play, and that's why they call it the El Plastico. But we don't care. So Hoffenheim is coming to town, currently in sixth place, kind of chasing Borussia Dortmund. What can we expect, Richard?
Introducing our next opponent, their ignorant check.
Yeah, it's funny that you approached that this club exists a little longer. They're called 1899 for a reason, huh?
But you know why? That only came up when lots of money was injected, and they were promoted to the Erste Bundesliga. It kind of changed from TSG Hoffenheim to TSG. Was it 1899? Yeah,
1899.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
tradition. That's tradition. I mean, alternatively, Leipzig could have called themselves RB09 Leipzig because they were founded in 2009. But who cares? BVB 09 is also a very
Okay.
traditional club. No, but yes, you're right. You're right.
Okay. So those old tradition club comes to town and is currently in sixth place. And this is a dangerous team, especially away. I looked it up and I was quite surprised. Hoffenheim got the third best away game
Record, probably, yeah.
record. Thank you,
Mm.
away game record this season. So they got already 5 wins. They won 5 in a row when it's starting the season, and then most recently they drew away at Augsburg and then lost at Mönchengladbach. So they only got one win from the last 5 Bundesliga games. So this great form from the start of the season seems to be a little bit gone now.
Hmm.
And in addition to that, they got some serious problems with the personnel. So they got this nice little young guy, Maximilian Bayern, number 14, which wasn't there in their recent 3 win against Bochum because he was ill and he's still recovering from that illness. And he was on the training pitch in this week. But I thought, I expected Coach Pellegrino most likely will not start him, or if he starts him, then he is definitely not good to go for 90 minutes. So this is a huge factor we have to bear in mind.
Okay.
And another one who will not participate in that game is number 27, Andrej Kramaric. He's out for the rest of the year with the muscle fiber
Is it the
torn.
rest of the calendar year or
No,
season even?
rest of the calendar year.
Okay.
So he should be back in mid-January, so as far as I've
Hmm.
read. But he is out in this encounter, and with Kramaric out and Maximilian Bayer maybe out or maybe not good for 90 minutes, there's 11 goals missing. So they scored 28 this season, and 11 goals are missing now, so nearly more than 1/3.
Hmm.
So the only one that is capable of scoring goals consistently is Wout Weghorst, and this is a really dangerous player.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a familiar name in the Bundesliga.
definitely.
He was at
Yeah.
Wolfsburg, then he went to
Don't
Netherlands,
mention Wolfsburg.
and now he's back, and it seems as if he never was was away. He is not only a good goal scorer, he is also able to recover balls in the enemy territory and then go for the quick game and play nice passes. Yeah, usually to Kramaric or Maxi Bayer. So, but not this time. I'm curious how Coach Pellegrino will handle that situation here. So, I think to wrap this up, they got a strong offense with some personal issues, but nevertheless, we don't have to we cannot underestimate them. So 28 goals is not only a few. It's quite okay, I think. And they scored in nearly every match. They scored in nearly every match. The only time they did not score this season was in their 0-1 loss in the round of 32 in the cup competition against Dortmund.
Oh, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they scored in every game. Keep an eye on that. So, but on the other side of their roster, so defensively, so to speak, they got some issues. So it's similar, in my opinion, to Dortmund. I said about Dortmund that I'm not satisfied with their balance, so between offense and defense. And it seems to me it's a bit similar here. They got nice offensive personnel, but struggle a bit defensively. So they already conceded 24 goals, which is quite a lot. So that Dortmund conceded 23 now, and it seems that especially their defenders on the outside. So usually you find their Karajabek or Sholai or who was the other guy? Excuse me, Bebu sometimes or Kabak. It seems like these are the weak links. So in the middle, often defend, or usually you have Kevin Vogt, it's a real Kante, as we say
Mm,
in German. So it's tall and he's not a great football player, but he's a great defender. So without the ball, he's great. And John Brooks is. I
oh, yeah.
remember so many games when we faced him, and he is always strong against
Mm.
RB Leipzig and mostly, surely, uh, against any other opponent too. So I guess we should find a way to attack over the wings. So play
Hmm.
our wing game and trying to go for the goal line and then try to pass the ball not high but flat a little bit into the back of the defenders. And we have to rely on Xavi, no doubt about that, in my opinion. Xavi is the one that must stand up here and try to dribble some or more than sometimes try to create action, try to distract the defense, so trying to stress them.
Hmm.
And then we will have to see how that work out. But yeah, it's gonna be definitely a hard nut to crack.
Not
Yeah,
again.
but we had it already, and this is my expectation here because usually they defend with 3 defenders, so that means that the outside midfielders um, will defend against the ball as well. So that's more like 5 defenders,
Hmm.
and our team showed some inconsistency when facing that formation. So remember Bochum, you remember Mainz.
Hmm.
However, maybe our coach will tell our players not to press that high. So maybe we find a way to hand the ball over a little bit more often and don't go for the high possession ball game.
Hmm.
That would be my approach here.
But do you think Hoffenheim doesn't know what to do with the ball, or are they not as dangerous as on, let's say, on the fast break?
The latter. The
Okay.
latter. They know how to handle the ball, but their efficiency is key. We always talk about that. And if you look at the stats what that Hoffenheim got in terms of X goals and how many goals they scored, in fact,
Hmm.
you will recognize that they almost always scored more goals
Hmm.
than they had X goals.
Okay. So like
Yeah.
us in the beginning of the season,
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
However, so the takeaway is, so the key to win is fast play. Don't try to win or to rely on the battle in the air, so to speak, because it's going to be too hard. So you got to be really fast. So I guess RAUM, Henrichs could be good contenders, but in terms of creativity, you need Xavi to step up to the plate. And be really creative. Make a lot of make a lot of hassle for Hoffenheim, and that's what we need to do. At the same time, they have dangers on the break, on the counter attack, and it's more likely that they're a bit more on the defensive side and like to succeed out of that. And we know how hard it was for us versus Bochum, but I don't know. When I think of Hoffenheim, I always think of a team who is willing to play ball as well. So not to completely park the bus, but to create chances themselves as well, not only through fast breaks. So that's my hope. But at the end of the day, it's going to be another very testing match for our team. Do you think it's going to be tougher than versus Dortmund? Bumblebees. Sorry, bumblebees. I mean, yesterday they looked like bumblebees as well. But hey,
Well, that's hard to say because,
okay.
yeah, Hummels was sent off after 15 minutes, and then this is a game which cannot stand as an example for any other.
So who could potentially be sent off for Hoffenheim? Okay, just asking.
Brooks, Brooks,
Brooks would be a good candidate.
of course.
Okay. Richard,
Mhm.
who could coach Marco Rose send on the pitch in order to succeed on Saturday?
So hopefully, I'm correct this time. The funny thing is, I'm pretended the starting lineup in our very first episode correctly, and never
I
since,
know. I
and,
know.
and never since. So I do my very best here. Okay, let's go.
Okay, starting lineup coming up.
Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
Blaswig in the goal, of course. Hendricks, Shibakan, Lukeba, and Raum defending. Schlager Haidara back in defensive midfield. Xavi Baumgartner in offensive midfield. And Sheshko, not Paulsen, Sheshko and Openda here.
Why Sheshko? Because he's Slim Shady, is really tall.
Yeah, it's Slim Shady. That's point number 1. And point number 2, I think we don't need a wall player in that game.
Meaning?
Yeah, wall player is that player that usually has the back turn to the opponent's goal and trying to make trying to fix the ball, try to slow down a little bit with when the ball is passed to him and then pass it back to the wings. I don't think that this is necessary in this game.
But at the end of the day, you need speed, and also Sheshko can definitely do that. Okay, it'll be interesting. Do you think there's going to be any chance for Timo to join the party?
Maybe, yeah, maybe in the second half when Manchester gets a little bit tired. Yeah, why not?
Okay. And how about our Swedish guy, our legend?
Oh, so yeah, of course, was my wrong prediction. Okay.
Emil.
So yeah. Okay, Emil. I think Emil will. Okay, Coach Rose cannot leave him off in his allegedly last
We're going
game
to play
for
with 12 this time. Come on.
yeah. Okay, yeah, this has to be the case, of course. Emil. So we will see him, no doubt. We will see him, and
So
Coach
coming on
Rose.
the pitch probably, but not in
Yeah.
the starting 11, probably not.
If you go, if you say okay, performance is key, and performance is the only reason to get into the starting lineup, then Forsberg cannot be in the starting lineup.
Sorry, Emil. No,
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
not personal. But we hope to see you maybe for the last. Well, maybe whenever we need you to help us. So that'll be great. Anyways, thanks, Richard. In terms of score, what's your prediction?
My prediction is another 2-1.
Oh, I'm going with a 2-0 this time. Don't know why, but it feels like 2-0. I know they scored in every game, but there must be a first somewhere, sometime. And Saturday is a good time, I think. It's perfect. So thanks everyone for listening. Today we talked about the match versus Young Boys Bern. We had some club related news, and we are looking at keys to win our match versus Hoffenheim. We like to thank you for listening to us, and we'd be delighted if you could subscribe to our RB Leipzig podcast and maybe leave a positive review on your favorite platform. And we're also thankful if you can leave us your thoughts and suggestions to improve the pod. And how can you do this? Well, you can find us on Twitter. We are podcast_RBL, or old fashioned, send us an email. It's called talk to us at rbleglobaltracks.com, but you find it in the show notes of this podcast as well. So that just leaves me to say, well, thank you, Richard. Until next time, well, we see each other on Saturday and record quite early next week because there's going to be another match versus Werder Bremen. And to everybody else, auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!